Today we are going to talk about results analysis and reporting the bottlenecks. So so far you have been learning what is JMeter, why it is used, what are the component it has, how do we do the script, and how you do the execution, what are the distributed execution, what are the single tenant execution kind of things you have been learned. And you also learn about how to collect the measurement and how to bit about how do you convert them into the matrices. So today we are going to talk about with those matrices how we are going to derive the information that useful for someone to understand the performance of your application. Okay, so we'll see what are the points that we are going to talk about today. So we are going to talk about how do we plan the test. Okay, so how to plan the test, and also type of bottlenecks that you could identify with the results of the given results with the tool that you execute the test. So let's start the session with the objective of analyzing the performance test. So here I'm going to talk about how do we define plan our test and what are the aspects that we have to consider when we are planning a performance test. So when it comes to the objective of the performance test, it's mean what we are gonna measure as a performance perspective by doing a test with JMeter. Okay, so in that sense, as example, let's say that you are having a troublesome server, like it's always take 80%. So that is your goal to test. So that goal we need to test. So our plan is to identify where it's went wrong to go up to that much of level. So that is our objective, to identify whether why your application server gets 80% of CPU. So that's your objective. Based to our test should be designed to identify that issue. So if let's say that you're planning to do a test for that scenario, and you just check the response time and tell them that this is the response time of this test, and that would not be enough for some person who expect to identify the root cause. So since this is kind of a theoretical session, and also some this may go with head with the practical scenarios, I would like you to interact with me a bit. And if there's any questions, so please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. And do anyone of in the audience have experienced such scenarios when you plan the test? Anyone? So what are the things that you guys consider when you plan a test, performance test? Hmm? It would be nice to have any answers. Okay, I hope you will interact with me in the future side then itself. So, okay. So then I will go ahead with some typical hello, typical approaches. So normally when we plan the test, we just consider what user perspective, and the technical perspective. Please can be enough to be on mute if you're not asking any questions. Okay. So there are two perspectives that we should consider before we plan our performance test. So what one aspect is the user perspective, other one is the technical perspective. So user perspective in the sense that if let's say that you are doing a test for your client. Okay, so your client is your user, so he has some objective by doing this test. So he needs to know whether I can reach 200 users with this resource we have in place. So that's his objective. So then there's another objective, the technical perspective, so that your developers and your architects are watching this test, and they wanted to know whether our architecture is perfect, whether it's expandable and it is available, will it available for 24/7. Likewise, these things, yeah, they wanted to know the technical perspective. The customer users, they wanted to know the users perspective. So these are two perspectives you have to consider when you start the performance test planning. So once you plan the test, so when most importantly you have to define the measurement that you have to collect. So let's say that you are going to check for the response time, high response time. So that is the measurement that you have to check. So let's say you are going to check the issue with CPU or memory. So you have to check those measurement. And we have to decide these are the things we are going to measure at the end. So otherwise you do the test with JMeter and you put a lot of effort to scripting, execution, and you do everything, but you are not collecting the correct measurement. So then that is the second thing you have to consider. Keep in mind, you have to define your objective, then you have to measure the correct values to analyze your test. So then the matrices, as you mentioned yesterday. So matrices mean the uh, understandable way of measurements. So let's say you have a response time. So the in the performance testing in the JMeter, we have samples, right? So there are when it comes to the multiple use test, you will get lot of samplers. So these samplers, uh, so if you consider one sample of these all of these out of all these samples, you there will be a response time of 10 seconds. Let's say 10 seconds. So will be another response time with 5 seconds. There will be another response time with 1 second. So likewise, there will be different type of response time. But if we can't say that this is the correct one by pointing out the 10 seconds, or we can't say the pointing out 5 seconds and say this is the response time for this. But we can convert this into the metrics like average response time, and we can see, say this is the average response time for this. So that average response time is the matrices that we are going to collect, and also measurement is the response time for the each and every sample. So likewise, we have to always keep in your mind, you have to present your values, raw data which you are collecting through the JMeter in a understandable manner. So these are some matrices that have with along with the JMeter average response time and 90th percentile. So you can use them right there. Okay, so so sometimes that by converting this measurement into the matrices is not enough. So you need to show them in a meaningful way. So what we can do is we can draw a graph with all the samples and see how how results is deviated like this. So also we have some graph along with the JMeter as well. There are a few plugins we can enable, and we using those plugins, you can see the nice graphical representation of the results. So most of the commercial tool has this facility. So by enabling some plugin in JMeter, you can use it there as well. Also, then if you are a performance tester, or if you are a tester that you do the performance test, your job is to make the test results most understandable way for the user. So that's the objective of doing a performance test. Okay, so we will see how we can identify the performance of your application. So I will give you a few techniques that we used to identify the performance of the application. So first one is the comparing results to the stated requirement. So as I mentioned in the first slide, we have to define our objective beforehand, before start the test, before actually before do the script itself, you have to define the objective. So then in that objective, they may have defined this number of users you have to reach. This is the response time we need to reach. This is the CPU utilization we have to check. So likewise, that has been defined. Maybe that the stated requirement will be there. So what you can do is you can collect the test results and you can compare that test results against the status requirement. Okay. So in that sense, you can get an idea this performance is not in the level that they have expected. So this is not a good one. So we need we need to do something. So we will discuss what are things we can do for those performance issues. So okay, so the next thing is observing trend in the results. So let's say that you have integrated performance test execution for the CI/CD pipeline. So you will get a trend. Also, when you do the execution for a certain period of time, you will get the graph, and that in there also the trend, you can see the trend. So in the behavior of the trend will indicate the performance of the application. Let's say you're executing 5 user performance tests for each build each day. So then if you're executing the same script, so then you will get a trending graph. You will get 1 point for each day. So if you collect all these points, you will get a trending graph. So some JMeter Jenkins plugins also do facilitate this kind of graphs. So you can see that. Then in there, it's, let's say with some particular build, there will be a issue with performance issue. So right there, right uh, right at that point, you can figure it out. So by once you get the results itself, you can figure it out by analyzing the trend. Okay, so far, do you have any question? Do you have any technique that you use to analyze the performance test? I'd like to listen from you. Anyone? Okay. Okay, so then I'll go ahead. If you have any question, please post in the chat. So,
I have a small question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You said that objective of the testing we have to identify. So is it depending on the project, or is there in a standard objective type?
Yeah, normally it's depend on the project, right? Because the customer is the one who define the performance. So they want something from out of us, right? So if you don't have such a requirement, so if let's say they don't have any idea how they should define that, so you can go ahead with the standard way. The standard way is I think I am discussing it at the latter part. So standard way is you can. So let's say you have a e-commerce site. So the performance of e-commerce site, to check the performance of e-commerce site, you can check the similar e-commerce site, which is the most popular one. So let's say Amazon. So you can check the performance against the standard, right? Right.
Okay, Sangeet. Thanks.
Yeah, and also then normally we always keep the time we if it's a website, we page load or something, we say it should less than 3 seconds, like kind of performance objective you can define based on the
Navigation likewise.
Yeah, if you don't have something from your customer, so that's you have to even though you have those stat, you have to discuss it customer and come into the agreement. We call that service level agreement.
Okay.
So only that's where you have to start the test.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, okay. So we'll go to the next. Thank you. Then you're asking for the questions. So it's really nice to have listen to you. So identifying errors. So identify errors in the sense, let's say you are starting a test, you are getting from the beginning itself, you are getting errors. So then no point of proceeding with that test. Okay, so because something seriously wrong there. So then what you have to do is uh, you have to fix that issue. You have to identify the error response, and you have to check why it is. So also, even though we can't say we have to do the test in with zero errors manner, but we can have less than 3% error rate. In practically we follow that rule, but it's better to have zero errors, but we can accept less than 3%. But the errors, if there's a lot of errors, let's say 50-50 errors, so then you shouldn't perform that test, because something seriously wrong there. You can analyze the log, and you can analyze the server error, application error log, and you can analyze view results 3 error log or something, and you can have to fix that. No point of doing a performance test with errors. Okay, so that is something, that's where you can find the issue. Okay, the next one is comparing the expected and the actual results. As I mentioned to Gangani, so the expected results is something we have defined initially as an objective. So it can be something given by your customer, because most of the customers has their objective for the performance. So they wanted to check for the 200 users, and sometimes they wanted to keep response time less than 3 seconds. So likewise, they have some expectation. If they do, even if they don't have, you can check the similar application out there, and with the compared to that application, you can define your expected performance. So even that also not let's say you don't have a similar application, so then in that case you can check whether your response time is less than 3 seconds, whether your CPU is less than 60%, if the memory is 60%, and also you don't have any deviation, abnormal behavior in the response time behaviors. Okay, so and also there's another method that if you are continuously executing the test, let's say you have first test and then you are executing another test with the changes, so you can compare the before change the test results before you do the change, and the test results after you do the change, and you can compare these two, and you can see the how much deviated the performance is. So you can see here this is the sample for that. So this is the before change, this is the after change, and you can compare and you can get the deviation, and you can see this one of the transaction is deviated, but it's because it's minus, and one is improved the performance. So likewise, you can comment on that. Also, we can also verify whether your components are functioning properly. Sometimes you are getting sometime when you are attend doing the test, some servers get is not sometimes they don't have load, so it's mean it's not getting load. There's a serious issue with load balance. Likewise, there are if by checking the checking every component of your application, you can see whether your application architecture is working as expected by you, expected in the design. Okay, right. So if you have any question here, so we can take it up here. So then, because we have few theory part to cover today. Okay, then I will go to the next one. I would like to introduce few tools that we can use to measure the performance of your application other than the JMeter. So if you are executing your test with JMeter, that will give you a lot of results like response time, throughput, 90th percentile, hits per second, transaction response time. Likewise, lot of measurement you can collect from JMeter. So other than that, there are a few other tools that will complement this performance test results, and it will help you to identify the behavior properly. Properly in the sense that then and there, so actually complement the JMeter results. So first one is the performance monitoring tool. So most of you have experience, might have experience with this App Dynamic, App Insight kind of tool. So you can see the application level performance. These tools are using to check the application level performance. That so you can let's say you have few servers, then where this load goes, then this kind of thing you can check with application performance monitoring tool like App Dynamic, App Insight kind of tool. So while you performing the test with JMeter, you can monitor this you can monitor the application using these tools that will complement your results, and you can identify the issues with that also. Also log analysis tool, so like Grafana, Logstash kind of tool, it will complement. So let's say that you have this implement Grafana or Logstash in your application. You can you are getting error, and you can see those error detail and exception there, so you can fix then and there. And let's say it's some issues we can't identify from the error log in the JMeter, so but it can identify with the Logstash kind of tool. So that is something we can use. So do we have any question here? Have you guys using these tools? Answers. Okay, so far we have discussed what are the techniques that we can use to identify the performance bottleneck, and also tools that we can use, and objective of the performance test as well. So let's see how we present our test results into the stakeholder of your project. So when you present in the test results, so there are key component it should be in your report. So one is executive summary. So I will discuss that later. Because there are a lot of things that you could include in your report. So first one is a summary. So to get the summary, you need to analyze your results with the technique that I have stated before. So then let's say you're analyzing your results. We will I will take you through few example of performance issues, so you can get an idea how we can analyze them. Okay, so then we need to get the measurements and convert into the matrices and or graph, and either way, and you will get a proper picture of the performance of your application. And using some technique, you can identify the issues, and if there is no issues also, we can create this report. Once you have these results, you can put it in a nice way, and you can place in this test results folder. So the issues that you have identified, you can summarize here. Actually summarize here, and also key findings also you can summarize here. So you can actually put some nice graph, and and also finding that let's say you have exception in your logs. So that is something happened because of the performance test. So you could say here as a key finding. Also we can do detailed analysis of the performances, like I shows here. So you can do a comparison, and you can do this is for transaction level. Even you can do the uh, drill down level as well, and you can put those tables in your report. That would be nice for someone to check them out, and they can get a clear idea then and there. And just don't send just a report. If you have this everything, all of this together, and send them, then it will impress your customer and your technical people. Then That's the objective of this session. Okay, so then also we can check this. You can add some logs. How, when you have run this, what is the duration, what is the number of users that have executed, date of the file date, and also you can add recommendations. So then these recommendations sometimes technical recommendation, like reconfigure the hardware, because if let's say you have one server that is taking a lot of CPU, and you can, if you want to increase the number of users, you can't go ahead with this number of servers. So then in that case, you have to recommend them to increase the hardware or increase the number of user allowed to that system. But that's the call of the customer, but you can recommend them this. You have to increase the hardware. Okay, like also that sometimes you need some further analysis, like server log analysis, because you can't come into the conclusion without those issues and errors. So there's things you can mention. And also then if there's a third party tool or something, then you see when you do the performance test, you see that this is the bottleneck, so you don't have control on that. You can say this need to be further analyzed, need to be done for these gateways and third party tools. So after you all collect all this information for this format, and you can write the executive summary. Here you can directly say, let's say response time is not in the acceptable level. You need to fix it. The CPU is not enough. You need to fix it. So likewise, that something that performance tester can recommend directly could include in the executive summary. So this is the typical format we use for the report our performance test results. So do you guys have any suggestions or any input on this?
Hello, Sugandhika.
Yeah.
In one time, I did some performance testing for my client. What I did was, because they didn't give me a benchmark for each endpoints also, and I couldn't find any similar application as well. So what I did was I defined some benchmark for each endpoint, and then I get the results of that response time, and for different user counts, concurrent user counts, and I drew a graph using that response time to y-axis and user count to the other axis, and then I gave them the result as like to this according to this the chosen benchmark. This is the user count that we can access concurrently with the current configuration. Is that correct, or are there any?
Yeah, there are two areas that you could correct. That you did the things really well. Nothing wrong with that. The problem is if you come up with some benchmark, you just confirm with the customer before you do the test, because let's say that they they said then this is not what I want at the end, then your time good, all of the effort you put is waste. So another thing is when you when you tell them that this is the number you could handle, have you done any stress test kind of thing? Or
No.
yeah, there are different type of tests you could conduct. Sorry. So load test is the let's say that your application is could handle 100 user. sorry. The peak user, then peak user in the sense, then let's say your application is out there in the market. So peak user is 100 users are coming in a 1 hour for your application, that is the peak number of user your application could have.
Mhm.
Okay, so you have to test for that level, not less, not high. Okay, and see whether it could cater for that level load. So, and also you have to define TPS, not let's say for 1 hour, 100 user, then you have to check how many users for 1 second, and you have to perform the test. That's the different story. But you have to test for the peak load. Okay, once you test for the peak load, if it's working fine, to confirm that the maximum number of users, you have to increase the number of users. Okay, then and see, then let's say your you tested for 100 users, you keep that load for 15 minutes and increase for 150, and keep that for 500 means 15 minutes. Likewise, you have to do the stress test kind of thing, and in that case you can confirm the maximum number. But in your case, you can say, if you didn't do the any stress test, you can say this number of users are working fine, but can't say you that is the maximum number of users.
Okay.
That's the way you did is correct. Just to get the confirmation, then otherwise it will be waste. And at the end point, when you present it, when just consider the things point I have mentioned.
Uh,
Yeah, go ahead.
Sugandhika, I'm sorry. Can you once again explain me how to do the stress testing?
Yeah, so when you do the stress testing, we start from the peak load, the maximum number of users that your application will get at the actual environment. Okay,
You mean the maximum the expectation or
expected, yeah, expected plus normally we add some 30% of future the predicted load as well, but let's say 50% peak load users. peak,
Sugandhika, the requirement that I first get is like they in next year they want to uh, increase the number of users that like 2000 or some kind of number. So
Yeah.
they want to know with the current configuration they can access the system without any error or issue.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that is the requirement I get.
yeah. Then then expected load, peak load is something uh, that you have currently have, and plus, and then let's say you 200% to 200 users will be increased, so 30% of that will accumulated for the current peak load, and the peak your one next the peak load is that. Then start from there and increase to 1.1x. Let's say peak load as 1x, then you will start from there, keep it for 15 minutes and increase for 1.5, and then keep it there 15 minutes and increase for 2x. Likewise, you can go up to 3x or something, and you can see whether it is possible how your application behave. Whenever you see an issue, you can skip, you can actually stop the test, and you can say this is the number.
Okay, thank you, Sugandhika. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll answer the question at the end of the things. So there are so in the next slide, I'm going to talk about typical performance test issues that we could see when you practically do a performance test. So, and how we are going to identify these bottlenecks. So in some point, slow response time under all load is the first case. So let's say you're performing a test for the application with one user. And even though it's one user, you are getting a bad performance, high number of high response time, high CPU utilization kind of. So in this case, there are different reasons are uh, reasons be there. So one is bad database design or implementation, and also network latency, and also there could be another reason. It is the background load. while you are performing a test, there can be other background load that cause lot of response time. Okay, so the next one is the slow response time under moderate to heavy load level. So in that case, in this here, what we are referring is, so then you are doing a performance test with the number, you are planning to reach the peak load. When you are increasing the load, so you will see response time deviation. Okay. So let's say then it's not like you are increasing the peak load, like like as explained to Gangani. So 1x is the expected load. Then when we are reaching there, you will get the performance issue. So in that case, that is 1x is our expected load. That's allowed. That should be we should be able to cater that load, but we can't reach because of the performance issues there. So we can identify this with the response time deviation. So this can be one reason for this can be, so some uh, resources has been occupied with some tasks, then others resource are waiting to get that resource, other requests are waiting to get that resource and they cannot get it. Okay, also there is another case, there will be various background load which make a response which occupied the server performance. Okay, if I got that point. And also there's another one, the error, the heavy or the, so when there with the load there is a heavy error errors. Okay, then in this case you can see the load is there and also response time is also acceptable, but there is a lot of errors out there. Okay, but response time is acceptable. Can this be possible? Yeah, this is possible because then this is when we are increasing the load and there can be insufficient resource to some resource pool or something. So let's say you have a queue, so you are putting some then first you that could queue should be able to cater for 10 users, but it's catering only for 8 users. So the people who has gone first processing properly, but there are few two people outside, they cannot go into that line, so because of that they are failing, waiting and failing. So likewise the resource, some insufficient, if you are defining insufficient resource pool, you cannot process all the requests coming into the pool. Okay, so and you can't then there you will get lot of errors, but your the one who get into the pool won't get fail, they will be in processing properly and they will give the proper response time which is in the acceptable level. So the same thing, there are some other two issues, undersized queues and stack, and also two rapid timeout setting. So these are the reason to have lot of error, but within the acceptable level. Also, the most famous issue is the degraded response time over the time. So when you increase the load, your response time is increasing. So this can be the reason for memory leak, also disk fragmentation, increase the network load over the time, and growth of then let's say you have a file growing inside your server, it's keep growing, that because of that your response time getting degrade. Also unexpected database growth kind of thing could cause for this kind of degradation over the time. Okay, so if I summarize the today's session, so I think we came into the end of the session. So at the beginning, we discussed why this important of defining the objective for the performance test, and then we discussed what are the techniques that we can do to identify the performance issues, and we discussed how we report them, and the data part we discussed how we can analyze and identify the issues. Okay, that's came into the end of the session. Do you have any question? Please, this is your time.
Vandika, you told like when we are executing a performance test, we will see some errors. Where we can see those errors?
There are different places. So one place is the JMeter tool. One place is the application log. Also, if you have any monitoring tools, there also you can see, right? I will give you one example. So when for the typical performance testing setup, so you have a JMeter in place in your, let's say, you have a control machine and you have load generators, and those are the things where you will execute the test, and you are sending these requests into the application server, right? So application server, we can have a monitoring tool like App Dynamic, App Insight kind of tool. Okay, so then in there we can see how which service is getting this request and how it's performing using this application monitoring tool. Okay, so then that is the purpose of using this application monitoring tool. Then you can see there how application performing. So if there's any error in the service, even you can see there also there's most of the application we have application log file. You can set it to the error. So every application has a log file, so you can check there. If you don't have a log file, so log reading tools are there like Grafana, Logstash, so you can read the logs and you can see errors there. So or any place is possible to collect the errors, then you can find the errors.
Thank you.
I think there's a question from the chat also. I think it's also covered.
Hello, Sugandhika.
Yeah.
This is Chintaka. When it comes to environments for JMeter, we do have server side and client side now.
Yeah.
What should be the good place to install and do the testing? I mean, we should, if we focusing on hardware resources and configurations, is it good to install JMeter there in server side and we are focusing on remote computer, or we were doing by our client side? Because when it comes to network, there will be problems now.
Yeah, server in the sense you're referring application server, the server that you're placing your application.
Yeah.
No, don't do that. That's bad practice. So because the JMeter, the purpose of doing a test with JMeter is to emulate the user behavior. So you have to have some place that you are sending a request. Okay, so let's say you are as a user, so you are sending a request to the server. So there is a network latency for anyone in the anyone who access that application. So then I recommend you to use the client machine, not the server machine. Don't use the server machine. That result is something faulty. Okay, so then when it comes to the execution of test, there are a few things you have to keep in mind. So you don't, let's say you are executing your machine with your laptop, that is something something that causes a lot of network latency. You can have VM in the same network that your application server plays. Okay, so you can have VM. So in that VM, you can place your JMeter, and if you're sending requests from that VM to server, that would be good. So then less network latency as well. And also you may make sure to use different load generators. So as we discussed yesterday, so better don't use the same machine. Actually, we are going to talk about these best practices tomorrow. Hope to see you all tomorrow as well.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, since we have few minutes more.
I have another question.
Yeah.
Let's say in my application, I have 100 API endpoints, and from that 100 API endpoints, 20 endpoints are the most used endpoints. So, is that correct? If I use that only that 20 endpoints to measure the performance, or do I need to consider all the endpoints?
Yeah, it's depend on the customer, because let's say that you have an important endpoint that you don't use much. Let's say you have application, it has a diary and your function is something else. Most of the time people log into that, if it's a CRM, or log into that application, check the diary maybe. So it has a lot of hits, right? But your main functionality is not that one. So then in that case, you have to consider that also. So then that's where your customer commits come in. That's why we do so. So you have to identify the most used scenario plus most important one as well, both together. You don't need to do the test for everything, but most important one, that's where the comment comes in.
Is there a difference between the performance when we considering 100 endpoints and 20 endpoints? Can it be can be there a difference, like higher performance or low performance for?
Yeah, in that we can normally, we don't do for everything, we do for few, but the performance mean the if you are defining correct profile, user profile, the performance will be the correct picture of performance will come. Because let's say uh, you want to check for 220 users, so you are putting users for that. You, even though you are selecting 2 APIs, you are putting 20 users, right? Right, then load is there. That's where let's say you want to check the performance for each and every API. Then in that case, you have to check for everything, and you have to state this is taking this much, this is taking this much. But if if your objective is to check for the performance of your application, then you can select the most important one and do that for the test for that. So then so you will get the proper picture. So yeah, you have to select correct user profile.
And one thing, Sugandhika, is that
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem.
then let's in that when we getting a report from JMeter, it shows the let's take the response time. So each and every endpoint that we have choose, it gives a response time. No?
Yeah.
Also, it shows overall result.
Yeah.
Average one. So is that correct of choosing that each and every endpoint response time separately, or do we need to consider the overall result? Is there a difference?
Yes, it's different. Overall performance mean how your application perform. Then I can understand your question, because you're trying to check for the API, but you're trying to check for the API, but you want to see the overall performance as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you want to see the performance of each and every API, then that's different problem. So you can check it there, but it's better to check overall performance by selecting correct profile. So yeah, overall performance, but you have to create the correct profile, user profile, in the sense you select correct combination of workflows. Yeah.
Workflows means
APIs, correct combination of APIs. You
Okay.
shouldn't do everything, but your correct combination should be selected.
Okay. Thank you, Sugandhika. Thank you very much.
No problem. So have a nice evening, guys. Hope to see you all tomorrow. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.